Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got. I thought it couldn't get any worse. Jimmy High Roller. Ben Simmons won. It's facts. What? This dude should be mandatory.
The good old hot take. The necessary evil
Let's get into it.
Yep. Through the good ones, the bad ones, and the downright atrocious ones. We once again find ourselves
they won't playing with me. I made the playoffs last year. They didn't.
Come up with this nonsense.
Yeah.
But today,
bro, who do you think you are? You only average 9 points a game. You're not Dennis Rodman.
Takes on the internet. So buckle up. This may be a bumpy ride. Today's video is brought to you by DraftKings. Brothers, it's that time of year. With the NBA offseason creeping along, I did my reluctant but mandatory scrub through NBA social media in search for a new batch of hot takes. And to no surprise, what I found was downright appalling. Now, I'm no expert or anything, and I've definitely had my fair share of bad takes, but some of y'all should seriously have your accounts deactivated for the absolute tomfoolery y'all are posting on these pages.
Lowry?
And after sifting through hundreds of takes, here's some of the best and worst that I came across. Now, this first take is from a fan who says that you need to be athletic to play in the NBA, and I cannot agree more with this take. Now, some of you are probably thinking, of course you have to be athletic to be a professional athlete, Einstein, but people will often use players like Stephen Curry, Luka Doncic, Duncan Robinson, and Kyle Anderson to prove the point that skill and size alone can earn you a spot in the NBA. And I think the key here is relativity. Sure, relative to other NBA players, these guys are not very athletic. But that's because their peers are some of the best athletes in the world. Compared to normal people, even the most unathletic NBA players are amazing athletes. For example, the average man has a vertical leap of about 17 inches. Duncan Robinson, the three-point specialist who doesn't dare take a step inside the paint, has a 33-inch max vert. That's
he doesn't even shoot
the average Joe.
Mid-range, just threes.
The guy who kills defenses with his craftiness
and slow
athleticism, has a 38-inch max vert. And Stephen Curry, the poster
child
has a
40
for what you can accomplish in sports without being an incredible athlete, has a 36-inch vertical leap. Even the most
Stephen Curry with the 40-inch vertical
players are still top-tier athletes. It's just that when they're surrounded by giant superhumans, they tend to look a bit ordinary. But the other aspect of this that no one really talks about is that athleticism goes far beyond jumping high and running fast. Hand-eye coordination, spatial awareness, agility, these are all crucial elements of being a great athlete. For example, take Trae Young. Doesn't really fit the bill for a typical super athlete in terms of explosiveness, but his dexterity, coordination, stamina, mobility,
what's that mean?
Other components of his game make him tremendously athletic. So, yes, you do
want my revenge, Trey, for what you did to me last my career video.
To play in the NBA. And even the most mundane players in the league are super athletes relative to the rest of us. Now, this next take actually comes from an NBA player. And as crazy as it sounds, it's actually not too
ain't doing
far
that
from
again,
the
Cat.
truth.
You lost in the Grizzlies.
Anthony Towns came out and said that he is the greatest big man shooter of all time.
Are you forgetting Dirk?
Fact.
You better than Dirk?
Immediately, fans were not happy about this. I mean, with big men like Dirk Nowitzki, Peja Stojakovic, and DeMarcus Cousins, Cat still has a lot of work to do to earn the title of greatest shooting big man ever. Right? Let's look at the numbers. Here's a chart of some of the most prolific big man shooters in NBA
Karl Towns at the top of the list, I guess.
Some of the greatest big man shooters the game has ever seen.
Brook Lopez just learned how to shoot threes like 2 years ago, so it don't count.
Are the best of the best. And then there's Matt Bonner, who lives in his own stratosphere.
Remember Matt Bonner used to play for the Spurs, do nothing but shoot threes off the bench. Random NBA players.
But he's not number one. But this graph only covers mid-range shots. What about three-pointers? Well, that chart would look like this. And aside from
BP is diversifying, decarbonizing.
Talk about BP, Jimmy High Roller?
From Davis Bertans, who gets paid $16 million a year to literally stand on the three-point line for 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, he's 6'10", he can't rebound. He just shoots threes. It's a shame.
Anderson, Peja Stojakovic,
remember Ryan Anderson?
Carl Anthony
Rashard Lewis
is right here. One of the best all time, but not the best. Now this fan, like many others I've seen, says that Kyrie Irving is better than Stephen Curry at virtually every aspect of basketball other than shooting. Therefore,
and
he's
defense.
a better player than Steph is. First of all, no. Second,
stop it.
This logic seems to make sense. If player A is better at most things compared to player B, then player A, by default, must be the better player. But these side-by-side comparisons almost always lack one thing: context. For example, take these two players. Player A is better at nearly
That's Devin
everything
Booker, and the
compared
other
to
one
player
is
B.
Jeremy
Passing,
Lin.
Playmaking, rebounding, defending, finishing. Player A can do it all. So, according
Player
to
A
the
is Devin
logic
Booker,
used in these
and player B is
comparisons,
Jeremy
we
Lin.
must assume player A is much better than player B. Except player A is Ben Simmons, and player B is first-team All-NBA Devin Booker.
What?
Similar to the Kyrie versus Steph comparison, using extremely general categories to assess players with zero context is a recipe for disaster. Basketball has a lot of nuance. It's dependent on situations, circumstances, and systems.
I do that all the
All
time.
of which give context to a player's impact and ability. As incredible as
Woo,
Kyrie's
that was
handles
nice.
are, they aren't nearly as impactful as Steph's ability to space the floor with his shooting. In fact, if history tells us anything, it's that being extremely good at a few things can often be far more valuable than being good at everything. If you took away everything from Steph's game, aside from just his shooting ability and high basketball IQ, he would still be a Hall of Fame talent. But if you took away Ben Simmons' passing ability, he'd be a 6'10" Patrick Beverley. These two aspects have different values to different players. So to compare them side by side like they are equivalents doesn't accurately determine anything.
Patrick
At
Beverley.
most, these kinds of comparisons might help you decide who's the better all-around player, but if being good, not great, at most things on the court determine who is the best player, then Draymond Green would be a 4-time Finals MVP right now.
Yep.
But he's not.
Nope.
Now, this next take is one of the more interesting takes I've heard recently. This NBA fan says that the top 8 players in the league going into this season are the best top 8 players the league has ever had at any given time, making this era the
Barry
best
on here
era in NBA history. Those top 8 players being LeBron, Durant, Giannis, Kawhi, Steph, Jokic, Luka, and Embiid. And I gotta say, that is one hell of a top 8. Every one of these players, aside from Luka and Embiid, either has an MVP or a Finals MVP. I'd say out of the top 8, you've got roughly 5 top 30 players of all time. Without a doubt, this is one of the most talented and accomplished group of players in NBA history. But is it really the best? Well, there's definitely been worse years in the NBA, like throughout the 70s and early 2010s, where maybe 3 or 4 players were head and shoulders above everyone else. But there's also been years where the league has featured a large group of some of the greatest players all in one season. Like in 1996, when the top 8 players in the league consisted of Michael Jordan, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley,
Robinson still
Gary
played in
Payton,
96?
Hakeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, and Karl Malone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This is a
He had
stacked
Tim
group
Duncan
of
in
8
it, though.
and one of the most exciting eras in NBA basketball.
Where's Shaq?
And I think
How
we can
about
do
Shaq?
better. What about the 2003 NBA season, when the top
Ooh.
8 players in the league were Shaq, Kobe, Duncan, Garnett, McGrady, Dirk, Iverson, and Jason Kidd? This group contains 3 top 10 players in league history and 2 more players who are generally considered top 20 all time. But I still think there's one NBA season that tops this one
With 2010?
in terms of all-time
It's
talent.
2010.
Back in 1988, the league was shifting from one era
1988.
to the next. And within these 2 clashing generations of basketball, fans witnessed what I believe to be the most loaded group
Young
of players
Kareem.
the league has ever seen. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Moses Malone, Isaiah Thomas, and Charles
Moses
Barkley.
was still in the NBA in
That's
88?
9 players, all of them generally considered top 25 greatest to ever play the game in the league, all in the same season. And outside of an aging Kareem, every single one of these players was in their prime in 1988. That's 5 consensus top 10 players of all time playing in the same season. Now, if we compare these 2 groups of players, I honestly think it's not even close. But only for the simple fact that the 2022
You got
group
Hakeem
has
over
a
Giannis?
handful of young players who still have a lot of time left to add to their resume. And I do think that this 2022 group does have the potential to be the greatest collection of players in one season. Only time will tell how this group will pan out. Ask again in about 10 years, and we'll have an answer for you. But for now, 1988
You got nutmeg
remains
by
by
Luka.
far the most loaded year in NBA
Bro, come
history.
on, man.
Now, our last take for this video has virtually become a matter of fact over the years, but I'd like to make the case against it. This fan
BP is diversifying.
Oh, you already know he's sponsored by BP.
And growing.
asked the question, when it's all said and done, which LeBron-led super team will be viewed as his best? Which means by default, he believes LeBron has been on multiple super teams. And as popular as this take is, it's not a good one. LeBron has really only been a part of one super team, and that was the Miami Heat. The Cavaliers from 2014 through 2017 were not a super team. And if you even say super team and 2022 Lakers in the same sentence, you're sick in the
2022 Lakers super
Cavs
team.
assembled their big three, the potential of this
super
team
team.
and the public perception of this team far exceeded their
How about the United
actual
States team? That's a
ability.
super
By the time
team.
this Cavs
LeBron was
team
on
won
the
the
United
title,
States
they
team.
had
You forgot
one
about that super
superstar,
team.
one all-star, and one fringe all-star player. If this is the criteria for a super team, then that would mean that the 2021 Jazz were a super team.
Yeah, they were.
The 2021 Nets were a super team.
Yeah.
The 2021 Bucks were a super team.
Yeah.
So were the 2022 Warriors,
Yeah.
the 2022 Celtics,
Yeah.
the 2022 Suns,
Yeah.
the 2021 76ers,
Yeah.
and the list keeps going and going and going. In fact, if we just take the box plus minus of the Cavs' big three and compare it to teams over the last few seasons,
2000
you
yeah,
can see
it was a
that
super
they
team.
were good. But
Look at all these super teams.
2022
Suns, 2018 Pelicans, 2021 Jazz. 2018 probably when they had DeMarcus Cousins and AD.
Call them a super team.
76ers, Cavs big three. 2020 Clippers, 2020 Bucks, and 2018 Rockets. They were all number one seeds.
We're on this level by the time they won a title together. And if you even consider the 2022 Lakers with LeBron, Westbrook, and AD as a super team, just stop. We know
Stop
what
what?
you're doing. LeBron has played on a handful of good teams throughout his career. Some of them
AD is an all-star. Westbrook is an all-star. LeBron's an all-star. Super team.
And unfortunately, that's all the racking my brain can handle in one sitting. Make sure to leave your NBA hot takes in the comments below. Of course, the hotter, the better. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, until
Is that
next time.
Curry? He can dunk?